trying to reconnect.
Okay. And now.
And I think we're live. Hello, Facebook. Welcome to the TED offices. Hello, Monica Lewinsky. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Chris. And we'll let everyone know that I told Chris he has permission to interrupt me if I ramble, because sometimes when I'm nervous, I ramble. So.
Well, we'll definitely try not to. But look, Monica, you are the star, one of the stars in this book that publishes next week, which is TED's official guide to public speaking. And the reason you feature so prominently in it is because of what happened when you came and gave your TED Talk last year. Now, you overcame the fear of public speaking in a pretty spectacular way. This is a fear that's really widely held by a lot of people. So I thought it would be great if you could just share a bit about that experience, you know, what it happened, what it felt like. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So maybe starting with like the preparation. So 3 months to go, you've got this TED Talk coming. What does it feel like?
Well, actually, first for me, I think that there was, when I got the invitation, I was floored. And I almost didn't believe it at first because I was so incredibly flattered. And then I spent some time really wanting to think about, did I have an idea worth sharing? And what did that mean? And so I sort of, as I started to gather ideas, I tested them out on close friends and advisors. And once I said yes, then the panic really set in. So, I mean, I worked harder on my talk than I did my master's dissertation, for sure.
Wow. Now, so, I mean, you had obviously more reason than many people to be afraid. It's like a big public setting.
I did. Well, I had really only given one public talk before that, and prior to that had been a 10-year sort of self-imposed retreat from the public spotlight. And so I think one of the things that I had to I had a lot of fear to overcome with this, and one of them was recognizing that I had to step back into being me fully, that I had to stop being small, which I had done kind of hiding for a long time. And so I think that was actually quite scary for me as well. Equally, not just what was the content going to be and what was I going to share, how would I deliver that content, but also how do I show up? Right. How do I actually get onto the stage?
And it seemed like part of what gave you that confidence was belief in this idea that you had something that actually the world really needed to hear.
Well, yes, I think that's true. I think that what happened for me is that as I worked more and more on the speech, and I also in that time period was becoming more and more involved with organizations who were working on cyberbullying, and I was, as a result of the Vanity Fair article and the Forbes talk, I was hearing from people a bit more too. So
just for people who don't know, the idea was to talk about cyberbullying. You were kind of patient zero.
Yes, exactly.
And it had obviously taken off, and you were concerned about this and had...
Right, and I think one of the things that was really important for me to get into, and I struggled a lot actually with the TED Talk, was I felt that there was the personal narrative, there were the narratives about other people, but then there was this bigger idea about the price of shame and how shame had become a commodity in society. And so I think there are probably a lot of people here at TED that worked with me patiently in giving feedback to how to bring those ideas together too. I worked with an organization in the UK, but I think, sorry, I'm losing track. But I ultimately, because at the core of what I was talking about was cyberbullying, the suffering that other people are enduring, I kept coming back to that in a way as my mantra, that this matters.
You actually had that written on your script?
I did.
Right?
I think that one piece of advice that I had been given, which really helped me to get out of myself, because I can do a whole number, like a lot of people, I can do a whole number of myself, was really focusing on a mantra that didn't actually have to do with me personally. And so for me, that was this matters. And I saw that at the top of the script, or my speech, so.
Because isn't there a sense that you can actually use your fear, if you can convince yourself that it's not your enemy, it's in a sense your friend, that helps. Like, for example, it's a motivation to prepare properly. without that fear there, people will just.
Well, Tim Urban's speech, Tim Urban's talk might. I'm being a procrastinator. Might disagree, but I think for me, what I had to do, I don't know that I necessarily used the fear because the fear was so massive. From the moment before I came on to the moment I stepped on the stage to the moment I uttered the first word, I was flooded with fear. But I think that what worked for me was really sort of trying to focus on other things and putting the fear in the background. So even though I didn't actively do that, that's what happened by focusing on other things, was the fear went
away. On the day itself, there were some specific physical things you did, right?
Right.
Breathe deeply.
Oh, I did bioresonance feedback. I chanted, I walked, I worked with my speech coach. I was able to actually power pose in person with the amazing Amy Cuddy. So that was pretty incredible. I laughed, I took a walk.
If you'd spoken to people in the audience who saw you come on, they didn't see a fearful woman, they saw a confident woman. And within 2 minutes of you starting, the audience was roaring with laughter. How did that feel?
Well, I think, I guess there are two things. So one was, I had a very funny thought. I remembered something funny the moment before I came on because I thought, I'm either going to puke right now or I'm going to make it onto the stage. And I remembered a bit from this movie, which was called, I think it was We Bought a Zoo, or something, and they talk about 20 seconds of courage, and that you just need 20 seconds of courage to go from inaction to action when you feel fear. And
then there's no turning back.
Right. And actually, and with the laughing, I think that was really important to me because I knew for myself and I knew for the audience, especially because not only the seriousness of the topic that I was discussing, but also because of my history, there was a collective consciousness and a lot of energy around, I think, everything that had happened, that laughter can transcend that.
Yes.
And so for me, I needed that moment of laughter, and I felt the audience probably would too. And so I was grateful. I was so grateful.
Well, just so you know, I was sitting there in the audience thinking, wow, this is amazing, this is thrilling, because we knew something about what you were going through. And seeing you sort of just calmly give this speech and clearly connecting to the audience in a really beautiful way. Well, and then the reaction.
Well, the audience was incredible, and I think that's one of the things too that I think I wrote for the little thing in your book about how important it is, the connection and the relationship between the audience and the speaker. Right. And so I think that's what creates that moment. It's about the emotion you bring, less about the words you're actually speaking, and that the exchange that happens. Yes. So the magic that was created there at TED that day was as much a part of the audience and the space that they held for me as it was for whatever I brought to the Red Circle.
It is magic, isn't it? Like I've been watching a lot of TED Talks over the years. The fact that a speaker can stand on stage and look out and make eye contact with people out there, and there's some kind of mysterious interchange where people are passing 1,000 judgments, 1,000 emotions are exchanged, and this idea sort of flows from your mind into theirs. I can't get over how amazing a thing that is, and it is in a real sense an act of co-creation.
It is. Well, I think too that I think we've talked about this before too, just that everyone has a story to share, and I think and within those stories are the ideas we're spreading, and so we're all connected by story, and we all have our own story. So that ability, since the dawn of time, sitting around sharing stories.
Well, this is something that I certainly feel really passionately about. It's actually the reason we've written and published the book, is the belief that there's something of a renaissance happening in public speaking, but that there are millions of people out there who have something really important to share with the world. And now, for the first time in history, you can do so and kind of get it magnified through the internet, through video, through social media, whatever. That's amazing. That means it's worth trying now harder than ever to figure out how to do it and how to overcome this fear that everyone has. Do you really think that people do have, that pretty much everyone has a story that if they could figure out the right way to say it, others would benefit from that?
I do. I do. I mean, I think my mom actually taught me as a kid that everyone has something, that there's something interesting you can learn from each person you meet. And I think inherent in that is this idea that everyone has a story. And I've, maybe I've met a few people where I've thought, okay, talking a little much, but there's still something that you can learn or glean or connect to.
And maybe there's one additional thing to say, which is that, when some people tell a story, they kind of tell it from a point of, it's all about me. Let me tell you some more dazzling ways which I'm great. And they forget that a talk is supposed to be a gift. You're supposed to be giving something to the audience. And so, if you can tell a story, the key is to bring out that idea. It's what you spoke about. You had this amazing story yourself, but you had an idea that you wanted the world to know about, which is to change how we think about cyberbullying.
Right, and to click with compassion, and to think about what you're clicking on, that contributes. And again, I don't want to make this now about my speech, so.
No, but your speech is such a great example because, first of all, the reaction to it was unbelievable. In the room, everyone started cheering.
Well, you were very brave, Chris, for inviting me, because I was grateful to hear it, but I had quite a few people saying that they thought you were bananas when they heard that I was coming to talk, and that they changed their minds. So, and I appreciated, I appreciated people who came to this having one view and being open to changing their minds.
You changed people's minds. You persuaded not just a room of people to stand up and cheer, but literally millions of people within a few weeks. It's been seen by several million people. I think it's been seen by more than 7 million, closing on 8 million people already. And I dare say a lot of people's lives who have been victims of bullying or perhaps perpetrators have been shifted by this. You've had a huge response personally to you, coming into you. Can you tell any stories there?
Well, I think there have been a couple. One really was one of my friends from graduate school, actually whom I saw yesterday, for lunch, in case anyone was wondering what I did on Sunday for lunch. And she had shared with me, she had gone to see a friend of hers who was in his 20s, and he was going through a hard time, and she was at his apartment and saw a piece of paper on his desk, and handwritten on this piece of paper was part of the end of my TED Talk, and the part where I'm really it's a plea to people who are suffering right now from shame and public humiliation, especially as a result of cyberbullying, to have compassion for themselves. And that was one personal, a small thing that made me feel that if the talk reached one person and helped one person feel less alone, then it was worth it.
So ideas have consequences, and that's certainly the whole mission of what we believe in. That if you can find the right way to share an idea, it's not just an in-the-moment thing or a piece of entertainment. It does have consequences, and hopefully this is part of improving public discourse generally. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of sick of just how ugly sometimes the internet gets. I'm going to have a sip of water in a minute, but hang on one sec.
Okay.
Hold your thought there, Facebook people.
You okay?
There are bugs going around this office. There's a reason we're shut off here.
Oh, great. I'm healthy now.
Sorry. I just want to say to anyone watching here who's scared about public speaking, and I know some of you are. If this woman can give a TED Talk, and she gave a brilliant one, if she can get over her fear for it and do such an amazing job, you probably can. You probably can. It needs a bit of work and attention and belief that you can. Maybe 20 seconds of courage, but you can do it. Monica, thanks so much for giving the courage of coming to TED, an amazing talk, and for this conversation now. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'll call that a wrap.